Let's take a look at the news. There's sure a lot of news. There was this amazing hearing. RFK Jr. was called before Congress to try to explain what in the world is going on at the CDC. He promised not to end vaccines, and then as soon as he got in, he fired everybody and is ending vaccines. Just what he said he wouldn't do, and his solution at the congressional hearing was to just lie about everything and deny the obvious truth. He said, no, he's not restricting access to the COVID-19 when he is. And he said that then he said he agrees with the statement that all vaccines are bad. None of them are safe and effective. And then he says Trump should have the Nobel Prize for developing the COVID-19 vaccine. So I think Donald Trump has shown that you can just lie and contradict yourself in every other sentence and get away with it, but only if you're funny and charming. And I don't think RFK Jr. has enough personal charm to get away with it this way, but we will see. Right now, Trump has been posting things saying, is the vaccine good or bad? I thought it was good. Now you say it's bad. I want to see some strong evidence I can show people to say what side he's on. And but Trump's real concern is how does he get the Nobel Prize? He really thinks he deserves the Nobel Prize. And that's why I think this is one of the smartest political moves I've seen. The smartest politician in this, corporate politician so far, is the head of Apple. Apple faced ruinous tariffs on the iPhone. So he went to the White House and he presented him with a gold statue, with a glass plate that was made by a veteran, and gave a nice speech about how wonderful it was. And so Trump exempted Apple from the tariffs. And so this is what you do. This is how it works in dictatorships like this. You go provide, during the time of Louis XIV, you would just provide the dictator with a prostitute of the right type, and then he'd be in a good mood the next day and it would end your war and stuff. This is how you do it in places that are just ruled by despots, which is where we are. And so we'll see. And I think that's why I think the head of Pfizer is very smart. The head of Pfizer said Trump should have the Nobel Prize for COVID, because he wants to sell the vaccine. So this will make Trump promote the vaccine. So basically, Trump has to decide whether he is going to hold on to RFK Jr. or dump him. And I haven't heard any comments from the inside of the Republican. There are people that have inside contacts. I haven't heard what they say yet. But I don't know why he ever took RFK Jr. on anyway. The man's a Democrat. And I don't know why he doesn't throw him away now. He's got all the value you can get out of him, so we'll see. We'll see what Trump does. Like typical despots, there's no predicting what he'll do because he doesn't operate on principles or logic. It's just like whatever his mood is in. If he was a logical actor, he would just fire RFK Jr. at this point because I think he's doing more harm than good. But remember, Trump actually tried in public to tell his followers to take the vaccine, and they rebelled, because he thought the vaccine was a great thing he accomplished. But most Republicans are now anti-vax and don't think that's right. So Trump may decide it's better to just jump on the anti-vax and let RFK Jr. continue to destroy the CDC. So we'll see. Right now, he's completely ruined it. And the state of California, along with Oregon, is making their own state-based CDC to make decisions about vaccines for California, Oregon, and Washington, which is what's going to happen, I think. We can't trust the federal government at all anymore, so we have to make our own. And that's why I think those of us in California may be protected from some of the worst of the destruction of the medical institutions in America for a while. But I don't know how long we'll be able to do that, since Trump is certainly willing to send troops into our streets to force us to do it his way. We may be forced to abandon these vaccines. They may decide that they're going to ban them the way they banned abortion. Anyway, so there's another interesting article. They decided to test how well AIs do at military activities. So they made a simulation with AIs in charge of the military, and they immediately escalated everything to a nuclear war. They said AIs, the current large language models, only know how to make escalation. They don't seem to know anything about making peace or de-escalation. And of course, the military says that won't happen because AI will always be humans in the loop. But that's already not true. That's already stopped being true in Ukraine. In Ukraine, the Russians jammed the drones, so the drones are autonomous killing machines with AI on board that track down a target and kill it, and there's no human in the loop. We're already there. We already have the robot Terminator out there killing someone. How long before they say, if there was a human in the loop, you'd respond too slow. Responding faster is more important. Anyway, that's a cheerful thing to look forward to. Now, I think I like to think this won't happen because many people are already proving that these ARs aren't really much good for anything. You know, McDonald's or Jack in the Box rolled out AI to take the orders, and they got all the orders wrong. So they canceled it and went back to people. And most companies that tried replacing their staff with AI find out it's not working, and they're going back to people. So hopefully the military will notice that these things don't work before they put them in charge of the nukes. But then again, that's a bit, I can't be sure of it. Anyway, so everything Trump has done in his first 8 months is almost certainly illegal. He doesn't have the right to do any of this without going through Congress, which, by the way, is very strange because he has a majority in Congress. He could have just gone through Congress and passed bills, but instead he declared everything an emergency, like declaring that we're at war with Venezuela, and it's an emergency that there is crime in Chicago and stuff, and then it did it all with executive orders. And so that's a weak legal basis. So all these things are rising to the Supreme Court. All kinds of district courts are saying the tariffs are illegal, the way Doge fired everybody is illegal, the way you fired people at the Fed is illegal, pretty much everything he did is illegal. But when it gets to the Supreme Court, we'll see. So far, the Supreme Court has been inclined to just say Trump is a king, his word is law, anything he can do that makes it legal, which is why I think he's not wrong to just ignore all the circuit court rulings and say nothing matters but the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will probably let me get away with this. So we'll see. But anyway, it'll happen in the next few months. The Supreme Court will presumably make rulings that will determine whether there is any legal limit on Trump's power. And here's IBM. IBM has a free tier of support, which could be escalated to humans, but not anymore. Now, if you get the free support, all you can get to is an AI. And so they think that'll save them money. We'll see. Anyway, so in Britain, a major retailer has now got live facial recognition all through there to try to catch the shoplifters, the serial shoplifters. And this is the kind of thing that makes privacy advocates very nervous. And certainly, facial recognition has been around for about 8 years, but almost everybody quit using it after the first 2 years because there were so many disasters where it identified the wrong person. There were several people arrested based on facial recognition that were totally the wrong person. And Microsoft said they were going to stop selling their product. Many other companies refused to sell their facial recognition product for years because they thought it would just make more trouble than success. So they're trying it in Britain. You know, at some point it'll actually work. And I've heard that some airlines use it instead of a boarding pass, although I flew all over the place this summer and I didn't find any airline like that. I just had a paper boarding pass or an app on my phone. What's that?
They start doing it. They do it right now,
Yeah, I heard this. Where? Where did you do it?
So they do it here, and in Germany they do it too.
Okay, none of the places I went did it at SFO.
One started last year, the new program.
Now the TSA checkpoint takes a picture of your face and then erases it. I don't know what the point of that is. Maybe just to compare to a database. But I still had to have a boarding pass. But anyway, that's one. So if they get it working, I think Whole Foods tried to make one where it would scan your face, and it turned out to be unpopular, and people didn't like it or something. You know, I wonder. I mean, it might be nice if it worked, but I'm not sure it's reliable enough to trust yet. And here's another example. The UK government paid for Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is Microsoft's AI product, and they found no benefit. They found that it makes some tasks faster, but it does such lousy output that you have to fix the output from lower tasks. I found this before. If you have some automated process that's only about 80% correct, it's worse than no help at all. You get the output, and then you have to go through and find the mistakes and fix them. It would be easier to just do it right the first time. Of course, maybe they're just not learning how to use it right or something, but anyway, they had 1,000 licenses, and they found that most people only use it like once a day or less because it doesn't really help them very much, and therefore it really isn't worth the price it costs, which is not that much. It's about $30 per month per user, but still, they say they're not getting actual benefit from it. And another study I saw a week ago in the European Union said that they predict that AI will improve productivity of workers by 1% over the next decade, which is really not impressive. And, you know, whereas in Silicon Valley, they tell you AI is going to make the whole human race out of a job by like next year and be smarter than we are.
Yeah, you should listen to that Chalmette guy. It's just, basically, AI is just a reason to offshore everything. They're gonna say it's AI, but then they'll just offshore it after AI does it.
Well, and that's possible. And by the way, As far as outsourcing to foreign workers, I looked up the research on that for another reason for one of my consultants gigs. And in fact, most companies say that's actually helping the company. And now, I mean, it first came out, they did it wrong. They claim it, and most companies do in fact save money by outsourcing to foreign countries.
Well, yeah, I mean, I worked with outsourced developers a lot.
Yeah,
And there's good and there's not so good.
right.
Or you have to be good. You got to find the good people.
Right. I've heard horror stories of it too, but they say you can in fact save money by doing it. Yeah. But whereas it's not at all clear that you can really save money by adding AI agents. Right now, they may not really be ready yet. And another thing about them is that they're not charging enough for them. They're all running at a huge loss right now. So within a few years, when people start using them, they're going to have to raise the price a lot. And then it's really going to be less attractive to replace your people with AI. Anyway, that's enough of the news. Let me stop this one.